How are you doing? This is Martin from Gardens for Life. So it's finally tuber season again. Every year we look forward to it because in the winter it's cold and dark and we don't really want to go out into the garden. And but we have all of these plants that are tuberous, receding down into the underground, and the wood chip cover. The wood chips themselves actually are an insulator. They stop the frost from getting to them, so we can actually leave them out there in the garden all winter. We don't have to harvest them and store them in a shed or somewhere, but you could do that if you like, the same way as any of the root vegetables. But we'll show you some of the tubers now for the next few minutes, and I'll tell you a little bit about the history and the different varieties and the flavors and all of that. And then I'll show you how they were planted, and we'll go out to the garden as well, and we'll show you how to harvest them. It's quite straightforward. We do have some other videos that give you a bit more detail, and we are going to do a quick taste testing at the very end of the video. So enjoy. So here's a bit of variety of what we've dug up so far this winter. We have the ochas. Ochas are actually related to the wood sorrel. They do have a bit of oxalic acid in them, especially in the leaves. But once you cook them, that's neutralized more or less. You can cook these in the oven, like roast them. It's our favorite way to cook them. They were introduced into Europe in 1830 to compete with the potato, but they never took off. In New Zealand, they were introduced in 1860, and they're still a staple today. We also have the Mashua, which is a tuberous nasturtium. Has a very intense peppery flavour, the very same as the nasturtium flowers and leaves. And you can actually eat it any time of the winter. You can dig it up and eat it like a radish, but it is quite intense, so I would suggest actually grating it into a salad, for example. Here we have some more Mashua, and we also have 3 different varieties of sunchokes or sunroot, as they like to call them. Jerusalem artichokes, they're mostly known as in Great Britain. And these are actually a tuberous sunflower. They were native to, at least they grow wild anyway, in eastern and western United States. So we'll talk a little bit about the varieties, just to show you. And here's our cat, one of our cats, Schnapper. Now, you don't eat them anyway, thank God. So this is a more rare variety. This is New Zealand maroon. And we have the Oka Red, which is a new variety that we're growing this year, but they do intensify in colour a little bit over the winter. And we have Strawberries and Cream, which has a lovely colour. You can see here it's almost like a pink and yellow sort of colour. Then we have Golden Oka, which is sort of the staple, and you can get a lot of yield out of all of these varieties. But the Golden Oka we've planted the most of, so we're actually going to offer them at the best value per tuber. We also have New Zealand Gold here. You can see they're a little bit of a different shape. And these ones here are more round, as you can see. And the Mashuas. This is Mashua Blanca, which is actually the most common one and the best one to grow for basically sort of a radish replacement in the middle of the winter, or even all winter. We've been harvesting them last year until about April, and until they start to grow. But this is Mashua Amarillo, another variety. It's up to yourself whether you want to try it or not. It could have a different flavour. I haven't actually tried it myself, but it certainly is a different shape. So this one is the Jerusalem artichokes. So here we have the white truffle variety. You can see the shape is very different from the standard Fusio, and it's got a different, slightly different flower on it as well once it flowers in late autumn. We also have red Fusio, which is very popular. Usually all of these tubers, I mean, they usually sell out by the end of the winter. So but red Fusio is always the one that seems to do the best. And we also have the standard Fusio, which is a common variety to cook soups, for example, and all of that kind of thing. And if you have other ways of cooking Jerusalem artichokes, let us know. So Jerusalem artichokes are actually a very good food for diabetics because they have a lot of inulin in them. The only thing is, if you eat too many of them, you'll know why they have their nickname, Fartichoke. And so later in the winter, the inulin is actually turned into or converted into fructose, and then you don't have to worry about that aspect of it anymore. But they're supposed to be very good for making soup, and they also grow in abundance as well. Once you have them, you basically have them every year. You don't really have to maintain them very much. The same as all the rest of the tubers. Yeah, all of these tubers basically take no maintenance at all, only planting into a mulched garden bed. And I'll show you that in a minute now. I'll show you a few clips first of them actually growing in our garden, and we'll go out to the garden where they are now, and I'll take up a few plants just to show you comparable yields. And we'll make sure Schnapper here, we'll make sure that he stays here. He'll guard them, make sure that the mice don't go at them. Here is an ocean of oca. It's about 10 square meters worth of oca, and it's not very many plants though. There's only, watch this now, there's actually, here there's one row, and there's one more row here, and at the end there's a row of strawberries and cream. Each of these plants is about half a meter tall and probably about half a meter in diameter. This would be one plant here, roughly. These are New Zealand again, very good variety. Here's a big patch of Yacon plants. For those of you who are not familiar with it or haven't heard of it, it's actually a tuber that has a very sweet flavour. In the winter time you can harvest it. It's like an apple, but very crisp and very watery. But also very sweet, and there's no sugar in it. Yacon is actually a plant that's in a lot of the diabetic foods. Here's another Yacon patch. That's New Zealand red is the variety. For anyone that knows Mashua already, is another one of those ancient vegetables. It's a tuber as well. Here's one plant here. It's actually a different variety. There's actually a red one. There's a big patch of Mashua here in the middle. These ones, the tubers are white, and you can just dig them up out of the ground any time of the winter and just eat it raw. The secret is not to cook them because they become very mushy if you cook them. You simply eat them raw, kind of like a radish. And I'd recommend anyone to grow them. They're very cold hardy. They reseed completely by the start of January, and they're extremely productive. One plant could grow as many as 30 tubers, and it only takes up about 1 to 2 square meters. This is a number of different plants. So here we are now in the garden, and I'm going to show you now just how easy it is to harvest these, especially if you have your garden mulched with any kind of a carbonous material. And the best way to store all of these tubers is either in the ground, which we have done in our mulched garden beds over the winter, because the wood chips actually protect the tubers from the frost. They also are well drained so that they don't actually go rotten in the ground. But you need to be careful when, by the time April, I'd say about March, April, I would take them up and actually plant them into little pots in the greenhouse and then plant them out as seedlings. That's the way we plant things into our garden beds, because we have about 4 inches or 10 centimeters of wood chips on all of our garden. We actually don't dig the ground at all, so all of our plants go in as seedlings in the garden. So this is what oca look like after the first hard frost. They're still producing tubers now. I'd say they're still fattening up the tubers, but it doesn't matter. We'll take up a few anyway. So you simply take all of the stringy bits on top, which were the stems at one stage, and you can kind of brush the wood chips away a little bit around them. You can see here they're already starting to form tubers here, or they have started a long time ago, but they have come out all the way out to here. So we're going to try and pull up one of these plants here very gently to try and keep the tubers attached. But there are so many plants planted quite densely here. Take a look at that. That's how many tubers you can expect, and more. You'll have to have a look around. It's a bit like an Easter egg hunt. It's my favourite thing from my childhood. You can see here there's lots of tubers attached to the one plant, and these were actually planted quite closely as well. So you can see here the tubers are typically on the outside of the plant, and if you have very malleable soil or a mulch, you can pull them up without having to use tools or even without digging. So that's how easy it is. That's okay. We'll move on now. Show you a quick video here on Jerusalem artichokes being harvested. We have a full video on that on our YouTube channel or on Facebook as well. You can see here tubers are so abundant that there's actually nearly more tubers than soil or even compost in our Jerusalem artichoke patch, and they've just done so well, and we've had them planted about 3 years ago now. We're only at this property about 2.5 years now, but basically 3 growing seasons ago. So as you can see here, you get an abundant harvest. And if you build up all of the varieties, that's even better, because then you have them forever. And we'll see how many tubers we get from one plant. Already looking very promising. Wow, an amazing harvest. Hey, take a look at that. That is some serious amount of tubers from the one plant. This is a type of Mashua called Blanca is the name of it. That's the most popular one anyway. A bunch of smaller ones there. And what we'll do is we'll just take a look and see if there's a few more down here. As you can see, they don't really go very deep into the ground, so they're easy to manage anyway. Now, take a look at that. Here's one of our 4 patches of Yacon plants. These have certainly died back with all of the frost that we've had, and they're actually one of the best diabetic foods. They have a little bit of inulin in them, but they're very sweet and crisp tuber. And I'll actually dig one up just to show you guys. We've had Yacon for a couple of years now, and we just really like it as a kind of a even dessert, nearly like a fruit. In the winter time you can dig it up and just eat it straight out of the ground, and it's actually sweet, and it doesn't cause the kind of digestive trouble that the Jerusalem artichokes cause you, even though there's inulin in it. We'll try and pull that up in one piece now. Let's see if it's possible. Here's one plant. There, look at the size of them tubers. And these are the growing tips. So we might offer a few of them, but we don't have very many yet. We do have a few varieties though, so if anyone's interested, let us know. And we'd certainly depart with a few of them, but when we have more of them, we'll offer them at a more reasonable value, a better value for money. See that? This is a tuber. Whoa, the size of that. that's coming from that plant here. So you don't even have to use tools in a no-dig garden bed, which is brilliant. And check and see, is there any more here, just in case. These were planted very closely as well. I'll leave that one in there for a moment. We'll just take this one. But that's a nice harvest. There must be about 2 kilos of tubers in it. And this part here you'd eat. You can make syrup from it as well. And you can also take these growing tips and grow new plants in the new year. Or you could leave it in the ground and you get giant plants, but I'm not sure if they'll survive. We had a few that did survive in our gardens, but they were a little bit crowded, so we're not sure how big they'd grow in the second year. But if anyone here has done it, let us know. So as for most of the tubers, you can cook them. Some of them are better eaten raw, in my opinion. And for example, I mean, a lot of them have a lot of minerals and various different vitamins that some of the other vegetables actually don't really give you much of. But here's a few different ones. We have an oca. I'm only picking small ones because you'd want to really cook these, but they're fine eaten raw too. These are a Mashua. I'm only going for a small one again because they're quite intense. And here's a bit of a Yacon root, so we're going to give that a try. Don't know which one to go for first. I've eaten all of these, of course, but just want to show you what they taste like in some ways. So we'll start with the oca, sure. You see, the colour is a little bit more intense inside. A little bit starchy, not so much lemony, but some of the varieties have a little bit more of a lemon flavour. Not bad. You can cook them, of course, in the oven and they'll be even more delicious. We'll try the Mashua next, and believe me, it only takes very little. Intense pepper, the very same as nasturtium, but you get to enjoy that lovely summer flavour of the nasturtium flowers all winter. And of course, grated into a salad or into anything really that you want to add the flavour to is ideal. Or you can just eat them raw or snack away at them when you're in the garden. Here I have Yacon, which is my favourite root vegetable of them all, and because you can just snack away at them basically in the garden, even without harvesting a whole plant. You can just grab one of the tubers and just rinse it with a bit of water. So let's see. So good. Sweet, crisp, juicy. A little bit like an apple, but definitely sweet. And they also they're a very good food now to eat, especially because they're fairly healthy for the digestive system as well. So that's it. Thanks for watching, and feel free to go on over to our website. We have lots of new bits and pieces on our web shop. We're doing early bird Christmas special where you get 10% off. You get the code below in the description of the video. And thanks again for watching, and I hope you guys enjoy. And if you have any questions, let us know. We're here to help. Thanks very much. Bye bye.